Good morning, COVIDiots. We are here on a cold December day, just before Christmas, planting a hedge for a customer. When leaf fall comes, so like October, November, through till April, it's perfect time to get any hedges or trees planted. If you plant them when the leaves are out, you'll kill the hedge unless they're plug plants or in a root ball. So we've planted a beech hedge here. Now the good thing about beech is it holds onto its leaves over winter, so you get like a nice screen, even though it's deciduous. So in the spring, when you have a look over here. So these are next year's buds. Well, these are the buds for next year, so these will have all next year's leaves in. Last summer, the tree prepared to grow these next year's leaves, and it's all ready and waiting for the longer days and the warmer weather to pop and thrive. So it's beech, so it's Fagus sylvatica, and we've planted a mixture of green beech and purple beech. So the purple beech, Fagus sylvatica purpurea. When this hedge is established, we've got a nice mixture of green and purple plants, a bit of variety. We'll shake it up a bit and make it look a bit nicer. So last week there was a big 10, 11, 12 foot high conifer hedge in here, and on the garden side it was a nice green screen, but on the driveway side it had grown out right across the back street. So it had been cut back. When you cut back conifer into the brown growth, you've killed it. It'll never grow back green. So the client decided to replace the conifer hedge with a beech hedge. So you can see just how big these conifers were. We took them out. There was about 5 or 6 in here. So we took them out. The thing about conifers is that they deplete the soil of nutrients. They rob all the soil of any goodies that other plants can thrive. So we had to condition the soil before we planted the beech hedge, and we'll show you how we do that. So here we have the very last tree to go in. So these are 5 foot high. So when they're in the ground, imagine it's 5 foot. Now beech will grow about 6 inches a year, so it's quite slow growing compared to like a conifer hedge or a laurel hedge. But they grow nice and thick and they're manageable. You don't have to trim them once a year. So when we look at the tree, that's the ground level. This is the most important part of the tree, the roots. This is where all the magic happens. So when you buy roots, when you buy trees, and there's some fantastic deals on at the minute from the Woodland Trust, you can get some really discount cost of trees. This is a big drive at the minute to get more trees in the ground to alleviate flooding, condition the soil, increase the topsoil because topsoil is depleting at the minute. So what we do is when they're growing trees in the nursery, these will be really densely planted together, and then once a year they come along with some knives. It's like a plough knife, and they go along the furrows and they cut these roots, and you can see there where the last couple of years the blades come in, it's cut the roots. So what that does is where the cuts are, the tree will send out loads more growth of roots from these cut points, and it'll make a stronger tree, which sounds ridiculous really. They're cutting the roots can boost the vitality of the tree. That's what happens. So what we do is, what we want is like a nice round even root ball. So before we plant them, we can prune these roots exactly the same as what the knives do on the plough. So when you're pruning the roots, you can see that root is I'd say this was probably about 5 or 6 years old, this tree, at 5 foot. So we can prune them back to strong growth points. So you can see where that fork is there. So we'll just snip that off. and I'm quite happy with how that looks. So then we can plant that tree now. So what we've done, before we've planted any of them, we put 2 string lines in. So then we know that every tree that we plant is in a nice straight line. We've got a nice even hedge as it's growing up. So we've dug our hole, and the hole wants to be as deep as the roots. So there we've got like about a 10 or 12 inch deep hole. We can find the roots, we can pop it in. So as we look at the tree, there's a lot of growth coming on this side. So as you can see there, it's quite bare on that side. If I was to plant it that way, the tree would naturally want to put more growth onto that side, and it might leave a bit of a bare side on the customer side. So you just have a look at the tree, see which way it wants to sit best. There's a lot of growth here, so we'll plant it in that way. So we sit him in the hole, and like I said, because there's a conifer edge here, this soil's quite depleted of nutrients. So in each hole, we'll put some well-rotted manure, and that'll add nitrogen to the soil. So that puts on like all that strong growth. But when you're putting manure on, you don't put fresh manure on, because that high nitrogen in the manure will burn the roots and kill the tree. So this, as you can see, it's well-rotted. It looks like soil. It's all goodies. And it doesn't smell of farmyards, which is a bonus. So with each tree, we're putting like a double handful of manure in. We'll put it back onto the spoil that we've dug out of the hole. So that's the nitrogen sorted for the tree. And then we've got some multi-purpose compost. So in the compost there'll be potash, potassium, other trace nutrients, and I can just give the plant what it needs. Exactly the same again. Put a double handful in, and then we just stir this up, mix it all up, so the plant's got just what it needs to thrive then. So we'll make sure that the tree is level with the soil, and that all the roots are in that hole. Because if one of these roots was left above ground, the frost will get into it and it'll kill the plant. It's vital that all the roots are below soil level. And we just start filling this hole back in. And once we make sure that all the air is compacted out of it, so we've filled that about halfway up to the soil level, and we can just heel it in. Don't be shy, you're not going to hurt the tree. So it's nice and compacted, and there's no air pockets around the roots there. So we'll backfill the rest. Like that. Some more in. And then what we want to do before we heel it in is make sure that tree's vertical. If it's cockeyed, it'll ruin the line of the hedge. So we'll make sure it's level. We'll tamp it in again. Just like that. Then the all important tug test. So you don't want any movement coming up there. And that tree's nicely healed in, and it's just waiting for the sun, a little bit of rain to thrive. So as regards tools you'll need, we have, this is a special tree planting spade, and as you can see when we dig down, that's going to be about the depth of the roots. So if these are a little bit smaller, what we could do is dig them in, we can make a hole, we can plant down the back of the spade, but because these are 5 foot high, we've got to dig individual holes for it. So we can use a shovel if it's loose soil, and because of all the tree roots, it'll really help you to invest in a mattock. So what we can use this as like an axe to cut through the roots, to dig that hole. So as these conifers die down, they'll also put nutrients into the soil and help this hedge to absolutely thrive. And sometimes these are really quality trees. These they grow nice and evenly, and each plant's exactly the same as its neighbour. So because we've finished this hedge now, we can look down that line. And as you can see, there's just a couple that are just coming out away from the edge, from the line. So here, what we can do is we can prune it back to these growth points here. So as you can see, you see that branch has just started to go off there, go off in that direction, whereas this one's coming out into the garden. So we can, these nice sharp shears, and we could just cut that off. But as I say, because these are really well grown quality plants, there's very little pruning to do on these. And as regards spacing, we planted these at 5 trees per linear metre. That'll allow it to grow nice, thick and even up. If you do plant them too far apart, it's not too bad because we're in a residential area. But if you're out into some fields or an exposed site, if you plant them too far apart, that wind can really retard the growth of the tree. So we'd use stakes and spirals to stiffen that tree up and brace it against the wind. But because we've planted these 5 to a metre, and they're only 5 foot high, any wind will hit it and it'll act as one unit. So yeah, so if you've got some trees, that process is exactly the same for all trees really. So if you want to get some trees in your garden, have a look on the Woodland Trust website. You get some bargains this time of year, because there's a big drive to get more trees in the ground. So what we shall do now is we shall go and have a brew, and we shall wait for spring to come along, and just see how this hedge thrives. So right, it's nearly Christmas. Probably got a few presents to go and get yet. I better go and put a Christmas tree up. I haven't bothered, been too busy working. So right, well, enjoy your Christmas. I'll see you in the next one.